But behind his smile, he was hiding a dark secret, a loving husband, a perfect family. But one hidden betrayal was about to destroy everything. What happens when a woman who loved him the most becomes a woman he fears the most? Raj thought he was smart. He thought his lies would never come out. But he forgot one thing. A woman's silence is more dangerous than her tears. Late-night messages, secret meetings, a hidden affair he played with her heart for months, thinking she would never find out. But what if she always knew? What if the woman cooking his meals, smiling at him every morning, was quietly planning his downfall? This isn't just a story of betrayal. It's a story of slow, cold revenge, where every lie gets exposed one message at a time. By the time Raj realizes the truth, it's already too late. His perfect life will fall apart, and the woman he betrayed will become his worst nightmare. Stay tuned till the end, because this story will leave you shocked. If you want to know how one woman turned her pain into the perfect revenge, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and press the bell icon, because some betrayals can only be answered with silence. And the biggest punishments come without warning. It was a love story everyone admired. Meera and Raj have been married for 10 years. Their life seemed like a perfect dream from the outside. Neighbors often called them the ideal couple. Raj was a successful businessman, always polite and well-dressed. Meera, a soft-spoken and caring woman, managed the house like a pro. They had one son, Arif, who was the heart of their little world. Whenever anyone saw them, they thought this family was made in heaven. But what meets the eye is not always the truth. Meera's day started early, making breakfast for Raj and Arif. Raj always smiled at her and said, "You're the best wife in the world." Those words used to make her heart warm. She believed she was lucky to have such a loving husband. After Raj left for work, Meera spent her day managing the house and helping Arif with his homework. The evenings were the best time when the family sat together for dinner, sharing stories and laughter. Raj always made sure to compliment Meera's cooking. Little did she know, behind those sweet words, something else was brewing. Everything was normal, at least on the surface. But sometimes, Meera would catch Raj lost in his phone, typing away with a faint smile. Whenever she asked, he'd laugh and say, "Just office work, nothing to worry about." Meera never doubted him. Trust was the foundation of their marriage. But small things started to change slowly. Raj began staying late at work more often. His phone was always in his pocket, even at home. Earlier, he used to leave it on the table carelessly, but not anymore. One evening, while clearing the dining table, Meera noticed Raj's perfume smell was different. It was not the one she had gifted him on their anniversary. When she asked him casually, Raj simply smiled and said, "A colleague gifted it. You know how these office people are." His smile was the same, but something in his eyes had changed. Meera felt a strange discomfort, but she brushed it off. After all, Raj had never given her any reason to doubt him. Days passed, but the little changes became more frequent. Raj's wardrobe suddenly filled with new clothes, expensive shirts, and branded watches. When Meera asked, he said, "Business is doing well, so I thought of treating myself." His explanations always sounded convincing. Meera wanted to believe him, but deep down, an unknown fear started creeping in. She didn't want to admit it, but something was not right. The distance between them grew slowly, like an invisible wall. Raj's kisses became quick, his hugs less warm. Late-night messages and secret phone calls became a routine. But whenever Meera asked, Raj would simply say, "You're overthinking, darling." Those words were enough to silence her doubts. She blamed herself for thinking negatively. Maybe she was imagining things. Maybe Raj was really busy with work. One afternoon, while folding clothes, Meera found a lipstick stain on Raj's white shirt. Her hands trembled and her heart raced. She stared at it for a long time, convincing herself it was nothing. When Raj came home that night, she couldn't ask him. She was scared of what his answer might be. The next morning, she washed the shirt without saying a word, hoping it was just a mistake. Meera tried to push away the thoughts, but the uneasy feeling refused to leave her mind. Every time Raj smiled at her, it felt hollow. The warmth they once shared seemed to be fading. Nights became longer, and sleep turned into silent tears on the pillow. She prayed every day, hoping her doubts were wrong. But deep down, she knew something had already changed. Days turned into weeks, but the restlessness inside Mira only grew stronger. Every little action of Raj started raising more questions in her mind. He was more careful with his phone now, never leaving it unattended. Whenever it buzzed, he would walk to the balcony or bathroom to answer calls. If Mira asked who it was, he would smile and brush it off, saying, "Just office clients." His smile looked the same, but his eyes no longer met hers like before. One evening, while Raj was in the shower, his phone lit up on the bedside table. Mira's heart started pounding. She glanced at the bathroom door, then back at the phone. The name on the screen was saved as Office, but something about it felt off. Her hands trembled as she stared at the phone, debating whether to pick it up or not. Her mind fought with her heart. She trusted Raj, or at least she wanted to, but the nagging suspicion refused to let her rest. A few days later, Mira noticed something unusual. Raj had started wearing a particular blue shirt more often, a shirt he never liked before. He even began using a different cologne, one she had never seen in the house. Every morning, he left home with more care about his appearance, checking himself in the mirror more than usual. Mira watched all of this silently, her heart sinking deeper with each passing day. One afternoon, while Raj was at work and Ara was at school, Mira's eyes fell on his laptop bag lying in the corner. She stood still for a moment, her heart racing. She never checked his things before. She never had a reason to. But today, something pushed her forward. With shaky hands, she unzipped the bag and went through the pockets. At first, she found nothing unusual, just some office papers and a charger. But as she searched deeper, her fingers touched a small, velvet-covered box hidden in the side pocket. Her heart nearly stopped. She slowly opened it, and inside was a delicate gold bracelet. It was beautiful, but Mira had never seen it before. Her mind started spinning. It wasn't her birthday, nor their anniversary. Then who was this for? 1,000 questions swirled in her head, but no answers came. She quickly put everything back in place and closed the bag as if nothing had happened. That night, Mira lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling while Raj slept peacefully beside her. The bracelet kept flashing in her mind. Her heart ached, but she didn't cry. Not yet. She needed to know the truth. But how? If she asked him directly, he would probably laugh it off again. She needed proof, something that would end all her doubts once and for all. The next day, she decided to follow her instincts. While cleaning the room, she carefully checked Raj's pockets and his phone whenever she got the chance. But he was smart. His phone was always locked, and his clothes gave away nothing. Days passed, but Mira's suspicion only grew stronger. The late nights, the secret calls, the sudden shower of expensive gifts on himself. Everything pointed towards one painful truth. One evening, while Raj was working late again, Mira sat alone in the living room. Her mind refused to stay calm anymore. She opened Raj's laptop and searched through the files. Most of them were office documents, nothing unusual. But then, buried deep in one folder, she found a series of hotel booking receipts. All recent, all under Raj's name. Her heart pounded in her chest. The dates matched the nights he claimed to be working late. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she wiped them away. She wasn't going to break down, not yet. She needed more. She needed to see it with her own eyes. The next day, Mira quietly followed Raj when he left for work. She kept her distance, making sure he didn't notice her. Her heart raced as she saw him stop near a coffee shop, waiting. A few minutes later, a woman appeared, young, beautiful, dressed in a way Mira could never imagine herself anymore. They smiled at each other like two lovers meeting in secret. Raj held her hand gently and led her into the cafe. Mira's legs felt weak, but she stood there watching from a distance. The world around her blurred, but the painful truth was crystal clear. Everything she feared was right in front of her eyes. Raj, the man she loved, the man she trusted with all her heart, was betraying her. She walked back home in silence, every step heavier than the last. Tears streamed down her face, but she didn't wipe them this time. The perfect life she believed in was nothing but a lie. The walls of their happy home suddenly felt cold and empty. By the time Raj returned that night, Mira's eyes were dry, but her heart was shattered. She served dinner like any other day, not letting a single hint of her pain show on her face. Raj ate, laughed, and kissed her good night, completely unaware that the woman sitting across the table had just watched his entire betrayal unfold. But behind those silent eyes, something had already changed inside Mira. The pain was there, but now it was slowly turning into something else, something darker, something stronger. The woman who once trusted blindly was now wide awake, and she was waiting. That night, sleep didn't come to Mira. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to Raj's steady breathing beside her. Her mind played the images over and over, Raj holding that woman's hand, the hidden bracelet, the hotel receipts. Every smile he gave her now felt like poison. The man she loved, the man she trusted with every breath, was living a life she knew nothing about. Her heart ached, but no tears came. The pain was too deep to cry. The clock ticked slowly. Darkness filled the room, but inside Mira's mind, a storm was raging. 1,000 questions circled in her head. Why did he do this? How long had it been going on? What did that woman have that she didn't? Was it her fault? Had she become too boring, too predictable? She hated herself for even thinking that way. She had given everything to this marriage, her love, her time, her dreams. And this was what she got in return? Her eyes shifted to Raj sleeping peacefully beside her. How could he sleep so easily while her whole world was falling apart? Did he even feel guilty? Or was she just a fool all these years, believing every lie wrapped in sweet words? The anger inside her slowly began to rise, burning away the sadness. The trust that held their marriage together had already cracked. Now it was turning into ashes. Morning came, but Mira's mind was still heavy. She went about her chores like a machine, cooking breakfast, packing Aura's lunch, smiling at Raj as if nothing had changed. But inside, she was breaking piece by piece. Every time Raj smiled at her, it felt like a knife twisting deeper into her heart. The betrayal was eating her alive, but she knew she couldn't act on emotions. Not yet. She needed to think. She needed a plan. Over the next few days, Mira observed Raj carefully. Every move, every word, every glance. He was smart, too smart. He hid his tracks well. His phone was always locked, his secrets buried deep. But he didn't know one thing. The woman he had taken for granted all these years was no longer the same. The pain had awakened something inside her, something sharp, something cold. One afternoon, while Raj was at work and Aura was at school, Mira sat alone in the living room, staring at her own reflection in the mirror. The woman staring back at her looked tired, broken, but behind those tired eyes, a quiet fire was flickering. She realized she had two choices: cry silently and live with betrayal, or rise from the ashes and make Raj feel the same pain he had given her. Her fingers gripped the edge of the table. No, she wouldn't cry. Not anymore. That evening, Raj returned home with his usual smile, kissing Mira on the forehead like nothing had happened. He sat at the dining table, scrolling through his phone, completely unaware that the woman serving him dinner was watching his every move. Mira's hands trembled slightly as she poured his tea, but her face remained calm. The game had already begun, and Raj didn't even know he was a player. Mira's first step was patience. She knew rushing would ruin everything. She needed to break him slowly, piece by piece, just like he had broken her. Every night, while Raj slept, Mira went through his phone. She had figured out his password by watching him carefully. It wasn't difficult. After all, she had spent years understanding this man. His secrets were hidden in his messages. Sweet words, late-night chats, promises of love. The woman's name was Natasha. Mira's heart burned reading those messages, but she swallowed the pain. She saved every screenshot, every message, every photo. She built her evidence silently, layer by layer. But gathering proof wasn't enough. She wanted Raj to feel the fear, the panic, the helplessness, just like she had felt every night. One evening, while Raj was out, Mira created a fake social media account. A faceless profile, no name, no picture. She sent a simple message to Raj, "I know your secret." The reply came within seconds. "Who is this?" Mira's lips curled into a cold smile. He was already nervous. "You'll know soon." From that day on, Raj's behavior began to change. He became restless, checking his phone more often, glancing around nervously. Mira watched him silently, hiding her satisfaction behind her usual soft smile. Every night, she sent him one message, just one line: "Your sins will find you." Raj's fear grew with each passing day. He started locking his phone tighter, deleting messages instantly. But it didn't matter. Mira already had everything she needed. The cracks were starting to show, but she wasn't done yet. Late one night, while Raj was asleep, Mira quietly opened his laptop. She uploaded every piece of evidence onto a USB drive: messages, photos, hotel receipts. Days passed, but the storm inside Mira grew stronger with each sunrise. Raj continued his routine like nothing was happening, but Mira could see the fear slowly crawling under his skin. He would check his phone every few minutes, glance over his shoulder, and avoid eye contact more than ever. The confident smile he once carried had started to fade. But Mira remained calm, playing the perfect wife, hiding her fire behind soft eyes and gentle words. Every night, when Raj fell asleep, Mira would stare at the ceiling, planning her next move. The pain in her heart had turned into cold determination. She knew breaking him wouldn't happen overnight. She wanted him to suffer the same way she had. Slowly, silently, without even knowing who was behind it. Revenge wasn't about anger anymore. It was about power. One afternoon, while Raj was at work, Mira opened his laptop again. This time, she created an anonymous email account. She attached all the evidence, messages, photos, hotel receipts, into one folder. The subject was simple: "Your sins will speak soon." But she didn't send it. Not yet. She wanted Raj to feel trapped, to live with the fear before the truth destroyed him. That evening, while preparing dinner, Mira casually placed Raj's phone on the dining table. Her fingers accidentally tapped the screen, and the phone lit up. A message flashed from Natasha: "Miss you already, baby." Mira's heart clenched, but she kept her face calm. She placed the phone back carefully, acting like she hadn't seen anything. Raj walked into the kitchen a few minutes later, unaware that his little secret was slowly slipping out his hands. The next day, Mira decided to strike again. While Raj was in the shower, she sent a message from the fake social media account: "Your wife knows everything." When Raj came out of the bathroom, his phone buzzed. Mira watched from the corner of her eye as he checked the message. His face turned pale. He looked around the room like someone was watching him. Mira continued folding clothes, pretending not to notice. Raj's breathing quickened, but he didn't say a word. That was exactly what Mira wanted, to make him doubt everyone around him. Every time he smiled at her, she smiled back sweeter. Every time he tried to act normal, she played along like a loving wife. But behind those soft eyes, her mind was spinning darker webs. That night, while Raj was asleep, Mira quietly took his phone and forwarded Natasha's messages to her own number. Every "I love you," every promise of secret meetings. She stored them like weapons. The evidence was piling up, but Mira was in no rush. She wanted Raj to feel the walls closing in slowly. The next morning, Mira served Raj's tea like always. "Busy day today?" she asked, her voice soft. Raj glanced at her nervously. "Yeah, office work." Mira nodded, stirring his tea gently. "Office or something else?" she whispered, just loud enough for him to hear. Raj's hand froze on the cup. For a moment, his eyes darted towards her, but she kept her face calm, pretending to be lost in her own thoughts. That small crack in his expression made Mira's heart flutter. The man who once lied so smoothly was now stumbling over his own secrets. A few days later, Mira sent another message in the fake account. "Tick-tock, she's watching." This time, Raj's fear became more visible. He started coming home earlier, double-checking the locks, glancing out of windows. He barely touched his food. Mira played along, asking if he was feeling stressed or if something was bothering him. But the more she acted like the perfect wife, the more Raj's guilt gnawed at him. One evening, while Raj was in the shower, Mira slipped his phone out of his pocket and quietly deleted Natasha's number from his contacts. Then, using the fake email, she sent Natasha a message. Stay away from him, or everyone will know who you are. The reply came almost instantly. Who are you? Mira's fingers trembled on the keyboard, but she typed slowly. A wife who knows everything. The phone buzzed again. Raj told me you're separated. A bitter smile played on Mira's lips. So that was his lie, telling another woman that his marriage was already broken. Her heart ached, but the pain only made her stronger. Wait and watch. The real separation is coming. From that night on, Natasha stopped calling. Mira could see the panic growing in Raj's eyes. His hands would shake every time his phone buzzed. He started locking his phone with new passwords every day, but Mira had already planted fear inside him. It didn't matter how many locks he used. The cage was closing in. One morning, Mira found Raj standing on the balcony, staring at his phone with sweat dripping down his face. His world was falling apart, and he didn't even know who was pulling the strings. Mira walked up behind him and placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. Everything okay? She asked softly. Raj flinched, quickly hiding his phone. Yeah, just office pressure. Mira's smile was warm, but her eyes were ice cold. Don't worry. Every pressure breaks one day. Raj's breath caught in his throat, but Mira walked away without saying another word. The trap was tightening, and the man who once thought he could play with her heart was now dancing in the palm of her hand. The revenge had only just begun. The days passed slowly, and Raj's fear grew thicker with every breath. He barely smiled anymore. His phone was always glued to his hand. But no matter how many times he checked, the unknown messages kept coming. His eyes were tired, his face pale, like a man drowning in his own secrets. But the more he struggled, the deeper Mira pulled him into her trap. Every morning, she woke up before him, preparing his tea with the same gentle smile. Her hands worked quietly, but her mind was sharper than ever. Watching Raj suffer in silence became her new routine. But she didn't rush. She wanted him to break piece by piece, until there was nothing left of the man who had broken her heart. One night, while Raj was fast asleep, Mira sent another message from the fake account. Your time is running out. The phone buzzed under his pillow, waking him instantly. He sat up, heart pounding, wiping sweat from his forehead. Mira pretended to be asleep, her back turned to him, but she could feel his fear filling the room like smoke. He unlocked his phone with shaking hands, staring at the message in the dark. Raj's breathing quickened, his fingers typing. Who are you? What do you want? The reply came within seconds. I want what your wife deserves. Raj's heart nearly stopped. He glanced at Mira, checking if she was awake. She kept her eyes closed, controlling every breath, waiting for him to fall deeper into the trap. The next morning, Raj barely touched his breakfast. His eyes were fixed on his phone, waiting for another message. Mira watched him silently, pouring tea into his cup. You look tired these days, she said softly. Raj forced a smile, but the fear in his eyes couldn't hide anymore. Just office work, he muttered. Mira's lips curled slightly. Office or something else. Raj's hand trembled, spilling a little tea on the table. He quickly wiped it, avoiding her gaze. That small crack in his composure gave Mira more satisfaction than any revenge could. Later that day, while Raj was at work, Mira went to the bank. She quietly transferred half of the money from their joint account into her own account, without leaving a single trace. Every move was calculated, every step planned. She wasn't just destroying Raj's mind. She was preparing to leave him with nothing. By evening, the fake messages became more intense. Your wife is watching. Tick-tock, your lies are running out. The truth will explode soon. Raj's paranoia grew like wildfire. He started deleting messages the moment they arrived, but Mira already had every screenshot saved in secret folders. One night, Raj came home drunk, something he hadn't done in years. He stumbled into the house, slamming the door behind him. His eyes were red, his face pale. Mira stood in the kitchen, calmly washing dishes, pretending not to notice. Raj walked her slowly, his voice low. "Did you know something?" Mira's hands didn't stop. "Know what?" Raj swallowed hard, his eyes searching hers, looking for answers, for mercy, for something that would tell him she was still the same trusting wife. But all he found was silence. That night, Mira made one final move. She uploaded every piece of evidence to the anonymous email, photos, messages, hotel bills, everything. This time, she sent it to Raj's office email. No warning, no message, just a cold, hard truth waiting in his inbox. The next morning, Raj woke up to find Mira humming softly while making breakfast. His phone buzzed again. He opened the email with trembling fingers, and the moment his eyes scanned through the evidence, his entire world shattered. He glanced at Mira, panic flooding his face. She smiled sweetly, serving him tea. "What's wrong?" she asked, tilting her head. Raj's lips parted, but no words came out. His hands shook, the phone nearly slipping from his grip. "Office pressure again," she whispered, leaning closer. Raj stared at her, his heart pounding in his chest. He wanted to ask. He wanted to scream. But something about Mira's calm smile stopped him. He realized too late. The messages, the fear, the whole game, it was her, his own wife. The woman he betrayed had been playing him all along. Mira leaned closer, brushing her fingers gently across his hand. "Every lie has a price, Raj." Raj's heart sank. Sweat trickled down his forehead as he struggled to breathe. You knew," he whispered. Mira's smile never faded. "I always knew." For a moment, the whole house fell into silence. The perfect wife, the broken woman, had become something Raj never imagined, his own worst nightmare. Mira stood up, leaving him frozen at the table. By evening, Raj's secrets had reached his office. His colleagues whispered behind his back. His boss called him into the cabin with furious eyes. Every corner Raj tried to hide and was already exposed. His perfect little life was crumbling, and Mira was the one holding the pieces. When Raj returned home that night, the house was empty. The only thing waiting for him was a single note on the dining table. "You broke my heart. Now watch me break your life." Raj collapsed onto the chair, tears filling his eyes. His phone buzzed one last time. A message from the anonymous number. "Game over." If you want to see more shocking stories like this, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and press the bell icon, because sometimes the sweetest faces hide the darkest secrets.